All right, I'm sure some of you are still scratching your heads, wondering why another orange one? Well, it's a tractor, and friends, I like tractors. So today I said I wasn't gonna mess with this for a while because I got way more important stuff to do, but I have a little time before afternoon bus route, and I want to try to answer the age-old question, will it run? We're gonna find out right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rusty Oliver Man. This here is not an Oliver though. It is a WC Allis Chalmers from about 1937. I've never double checked the year, but that's what they said it was. And it looks about right, because what I've gathered by doing multiple internet searches is that in 37 they switched to 6-bolt rims instead of spoked wheels. It would be cooler to have spoked wheels all the way around, but that would be original, and that would have been handier for them at the time, because your front tires go flat more times than your back would, and it would be easier to change a tire like that than, you know, a spoked wheel. So the reason I wanted one is because my great-grandpa had one way back, and kind of my grandpa, his goal and my goal all the time growing up was we wanted to try to accumulate all of the stuff that they had. And so I'm getting closer to the tune of, I need an F12 on steel, an F12 Farmall, and a Massey Ferguson 65 tricycle diesel. And my uncle still has his Ferguson, which I think that I will inherit one day, so I don't need to find one of those. There's the real thing is over there that they actually had. And then what else did they have is his grandpa had an F20 on steel, but other than that, I think I have pretty well everything that they had, and some of them are actually the ones that they had. So anyway, this was one of the missing pieces I didn't have. They had this back, it was before my dad's time because he doesn't remember it, but my uncle remembers it, Grandpa's brother. And anyway, the story I always heard was they traded it in on that WD, and the reason they had this to begin with was they had a corn picker on it and sweet corn picker, because they sold sweet corn to a cannery locally, and the Allis Chalmers had a thing where you could swap out the rolls and stuff for a sweet corn setup, you know, that more or less I would assume that it just picked it off the stalk and it didn't do any husking. It just put it up, shucks and all, into the wagon. And those Allis Chalmers pickers are low, you know, they sit under like about here and come up. There was one on a tractor in that tour that we took in Ohio. I pointed that out. But at any rate, a WC, I mean, 1930s era tractors are cool, I think, because we're back in the days when the only requirements for a tractor were wheels and a seat. Everything else was optional, and it was optional. You look at how this thing is made, it's basically two pieces of channel iron bolted to some stuff. I mean, they took two pieces of channel iron and thought, we're going to make this into a tractor. So they bolted an engine in the front, they made a piece that fit between the channel iron, bolted the front end on, and then back here they thought we got to have a rear end, so they bolted a rear end to it. But it is lightweight. I mean, there's nothing to it. This was basically I believe in a lot of in those days, yeah, they thought using it for plowing with two bottom plows at the most, but a big part of their life was cultivating. And I think that's when they designed tractors back in this era, that was their focus of, you know, a row crop tractor was for cultivation. And so a lot of the features on it are with that in mind, you know, and then plowing was just extra that you could do. I know that I think Grandpa said that his dad, basically he still plowed with the horses maybe they used one of the tractors, but the tractor was used for cultivating, and you know, they still used their horses for stuff. But at any rate, I could go on and on about stuff like that. I don't know what drew me to this particular one. I've looked around, and then I saw this one on the sale, and I thought, that's it. That's the one I want. I gathered for years. I thought about trying to find one on full steel, because I think that's cool, but that's not what they had, so maybe I'll find another one on steel someday. But I don't know. You saw the video the day before the sale. I went there and I said I went to buy this tractor. I felt bad because a guy that I know real well, he was bidding against me, and he had came to buy it too. But I know you can't take your friends to an auction, I guess is the moral of the story. Don't be mad at each other, because that's just the way it goes. I wanted this, so that's why. And it's kind of, in some ways it's rough, and in other ways I really think it has a lot of potential. It appears to be holding water, so that's handy. However, the tin sides on here are kind of rotten, so I don't know how I'm gonna go about fixing that without melting a hole in the radiator, but I'm sure we'll go ahead and melt a hole in the radiator before we accomplish our task. But they cast their name into the metal. It's like tin or whatever. It's probably brass, because I've seen them polished up, but had their name in it. They were so proud of it, you know. I think the very first years they did not do that, and then I don't know about the later years if they did it all the way to the end or what that is, but I was thinking that the first ones they didn't. Another fun WC fact that I learned years ago, the experimental WCs, and maybe like they might have made up to 100 of them. I don't know for sure. Allis Chalmers people can chime in, but they actually had a Waukesha engine. They experimented with using a Waukesha engine because that was a proven manufacturer. So then that didn't happen, and they went to these, and I think that might have been like the first year only ones and just a set number of them, but I've seen one of those before, so that's pretty cool. Basically, there's not much difference in this procedurally or the way it's built than that C that we've been working on too. It's, you know, more or less exactly the same type of deal. As we look it over, just like I did that first day, the oil looks decent-ish. The auctioneer was out there when we were loading it, and he told me, the guy that had it, he told me that guy said he had it running a year ago, and then it just sat. It's not stuck. It's got compression. I don't imagine that it has spark though, because look at this cluster of sadness here, see? So what I think I'm gonna do first is take this cover off the Magneto and just see what we're working with. Is it salvageable? I can get all the guts to put in that and make that happen, and I'm gonna say we're probably gonna get there, because we're crank start only here, and I'm not working my Knudsen off to do that. It's got to work where it starts reasonably well. So I assume before we get it running, it's going to be that sort of deal, and it's going to be a carburetor rebuild, probably, maybe, because who knows what that looks like. The fuel setup is not great. Like, I don't go for all this. We'll make it better. I like the wood block holding the fuel line to the side. I don't know what was really there in those holes, but maybe somebody did that for that reason. But somebody said that maybe some of these had remote sediment bowls that weren't, like it had a tube for, I don't know. I need to probably get a book, like an operator's book, to learn about such things, you know. That's kind of a neat valve, but I don't think we're gonna go with it, you know. We're gonna make it a little bit more better. One thing I'm not sure about, and I didn't notice till editing the other videos, is what was here that somebody has bolted something over top of. Did it have a mechanical lift bolted on that place, or is there something else that's supposed to be there now that's not? I need to learn those things, because I don't know. I don't know enough about them. I should have probably just bought a different tractor that was in better running shape and been done with it, but I like things that don't run, and this one caught my eye for some reason. There was something about it that just made me think, yes. Another thing I don't understand about the shifter is this. I don't really understand what that is. I'm sure everybody else out there knows. I'm gonna have to ask somebody because I don't understand. It doesn't seem to have any effect, but then I realized that it's not actually pivoting here, so that's something potentially that we're going to have to get working again. I don't know if that's supposed to lock it in gear, and then to get it to shift you push that and unlock it. I don't know. See, the WC first was open, and then later on they made a styled WC that looks a lot like a WD. And then they also made an RC, which looks a lot like a WD from a distance, and they used the same styling on multiple things with different things, and you have to know the differences to know what you got. But this is definitely a WC, and you know that because they actually put the model number in front of the serial number here. WC stamped into the cast. Hand brakes on this. They didn't worry about going down the road and stopping. That wasn't their primary thing. So turning on the ends was their primary worry, and so that's what we got. I will say, well, one interesting thing I noticed was this has a aftermarket-ish seat. It's not really doing very well though. Something is not right here. The spring has come. The spring has sprung. That's supposed to be in those notches, and then you'd have somewhat of a cushion ride as opposed to the factory flat bracket that came up with the seat on it. I mean, just look at it. It's crude, but that's what they were in for, you know. We weren't doing fancy stuff in these days. We were about farming, out in the open and getting her done, and that's what they're after. It's neat that they put on I guess you didn't want the clutch to stick, so you put that down, and there you have it, you know, lock the clutch. I thought one thing that was amazing is how easy it steers. It steers super easy. Whatever kind of gear reduction they have in there is just right, because, yeah. But at any rate, enough gabbing about it. My number one chore here is going to be, we're going to take the Magneto apart and see what we got to have, if we can potentially make it go with this, or if there's no chance at all. But one thing I know, friends, I found in the back seat of the Super Cheap Super Duty, the red pliers. So with the red pliers and brake clean, we can accomplish anything. So let's get started. All right, another fun fact, the early ones had a different Magneto. They had a big long deal here that had like a flat plate mounting. It mounted to that bracket, and then it was a much more antiquated style of Magneto. And then this, I believe, is the same one that would have been on that C. If they used it and other tractor manufacturers used it, I think this was a replacement Magneto that a lot of companies used. Anyway, general purpose Magneto is what I'm saying, and a lot of companies went to that. So, if I'm also correct, the points in there will look something like the points on a 2-cylinder John Deere, I believe, but I'm not sure on that. We'll find out in a minute. A Magneto makes its own electricity. It's got magnets in it, and that's what generates the spark with everything, so you don't need anything. You don't need a battery, you don't need anything. Somebody here has tried to make things go by doing strange things, and that breaks my brain also. So we're gonna delete on this because we don't need any of that, you know. There is no reason for any of this garbage. It's just hanging in our teeth looking ridiculous. So yeah, but we got to start somewhere, and that somewhere is here. I have anticipated sadness. That's what I assume will happen. I don't really know what's going on with this. I'm going to take the bigger cover off. You're going to have to live up there because there ain't no way that I'm going to have anything. We might find all new parts in here. I don't know. But just based on how that guy had that coil supposedly rigged up there, I just very much question. And the fact the wire has no insulation on, like there was a fire. Makes me wonder. This is not easy to get off of there, is it? Well, there we go. I am having a big struggle. Come on, come on, come on. There's probably a better screwdriver for this job, but I really like this screwdriver the viewer sent me. It's really handy, it's well built, and it's got all the sizes you need. Let's start on the worst one, and then we'll... Yeah, we're not gonna get it with this. We're gonna have to... First of all, I'm working on a slant again because we're in the magical piece that's, you know, crooked. It's not what it could be here. Will this fit in there? Part of our screwdriver? Oh, I'm smart. SMRT. That's immediately, that smartness is immediately canceled out by the fact that I dragged this home to begin with. My hope is that the YouTube videos will help offset the stupidity cost that I paid, because I gave more for it than I probably should have. This is not easy to get off of here on the tractor. I don't know what's going on. There's another one. We're down to the last one. All right. A lot of people are scared of Magnetos, but I don't know why. There's nothing to them. I mean, well, that was dumb, wasn't it? Ross just dropped a screw, but sure. Uh-oh. This is one of those ones where, oh, Knutson. This is one of those ones, oh, they took out the, well, friends, I see what he's done, and I don't support what he's done here. Okay, I think we can probably make it work. Let me explain what's happening. So the way this Magneto works, it's actually geared, it gear drives the rotor. And so we got to be careful we don't move this down because we're going to get it way out of time. But what the guy did, he pulled out the coil and he had a wire wired to this wire, which normally would be the kill wire. And I assume that he had, that was wired to the ground. That's what he had. He had the hot wired to a battery, and then he would have had to have this wired to that. And that must be a terminal that the coil would have been wired to. I guess it probably on the original tractor it had a pin through that to touch the coil, because I don't know what was going on and I don't know how this was made. But boy, that's what I wanted to see. There is a potential that maybe we can try to run it on his setup that he had. I see he lost the clip for the points, so that ain't very good. Well, get in there. I thought we'd try to sand the points whilst we were here, but boy, he's got her engineered, friends. I really... Is that a Phillips? No. Yeah, it is. Okay, we're going to use the tip of the screwdriver and the red pliers. Because remember, anything's possible with red pliers. Oh boy, that's under a lot of tension. Okay. We got to get it out though, because we got to clean up these points. And I've discovered on the 2-cylinder John Deere that it's just much easier to take this whole thing out, the movable portion, and then sand on there. I don't even know if you can see, the cap's kind of in the way and I'm too afraid to move it because I don't want... Okay, Well, Knudsen, that is not gonna it's not gonna come out of there without taking that loose. But I got the tension off of it now, so hopefully I can sand the points better. Question mark. Lots of corrosion. How are we doing there? Are we cleaning up good or what? We don't look like we're... Okay, we're gonna call that acceptable for now. Now we're going to try to put all of this stuff back together without losing any pieces, which ain't gonna be good, I'm sure. I didn't expect to find it gutted. I didn't expect that. So, I don't know. I don't know why I'm surprised, but now that I see what this other guy did, I think I can make it go with his setup. Oh, we're losing pieces. We don't want to lose that. That needs to go on there better. Can we push that? Come on. Get on now. Yeah, there. Get in now. What is the deal here, friend? There. Jump in there. Now let's put this gently back on there. I'm sure we've jumped time, you know. This is a very bizarre setup. I'm on there. I'm on where it needs to be. This is the boring stuff, you know. I'm sorry that it's not more exciting right now, but this has to happen. Now we've slipped out of there. Did I put that screw back in? Yep. All right, we looked in there, we sanded points, we see how we're gonna have to wire it. I wanna see what's happening in here, because I still don't understand how he jumpered the coil to this. And also, I guess I'm gonna be taking the screwdriver apart again to get in there with a tiny portion of it. Red pliers, I need you. Come on. Red pliers. I can't get in there. All right, let's have a look in there. Okay, I don't understand is the moral of the story. How does the... Oh. Okay, I do understand. Spring button, so the power's going into here, and it must be solid in there all the way down to this. And then it's distributing it to these. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I think this will actually work. I never would have believed it, but... And what I'm getting at is, in a minute I'll explain, but I wonder why they put this stud in the cover to begin with, if it was a Magneto, because your kill switch is here. I don't know. Did they make this as a distributor too? I know they did that on the John Deere's with like the X distributor. You could get an XH distributor or the X Magneto, so maybe that's what took place here. We're gonna revisit that. We may take that off in a minute to double check the timing, because I don't want to crank my Knudsen off for nothing. I want to know that we're in the right neighborhood. You're at 1%, so I'm going to have to change batteries. We're also almost out of recording time on the camera, but we're going to soldier on. Let's change batteries, and then I'll bring you back. All right, I think our next order of business, we're going to pull the spark plugs. Then we are going to see, double check our timing of our rotor, because that could very easily be changed, and we want to make sure it's not. So this is going to be quite the affair if it's wrong, because if it's wrong, we got to take everything loose we just had loose in order to make that go. Obviously the last guy, he put some spark plugs in it. It's pretty I don't know. We're gonna put some of the good stuff in to just help it lube a little bit, you know. And we should probably, should we go ahead and, I need to get you a better view to start with, but we need the crank so we can turn it. Let's get it to where that's pushing out. Okay, there it's pushing out air on my finger. So we want to just see if that is somewhere remotely close to where this rotor is. I know it's boring when I have to do the same things over and over. I know you don't like that, but this is part of the procedure, friends. Okay, that is, sure enough, it is right up there towards 1. So I would say we're okay. Like it's in the neighborhood where that would fire. Now what I want to do before we even start is I want to double check the firing order. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, because I need to be able to see. Well, I'll just turn the thing a little bit and see which way it moved. Okay, it goes this way in there, opposite of the way you crank, see? So you can't assume things. So that would mean 1, 2, 4, 3. That sounds right. We'll verify that, because there's 2 different firing orders that a 4-cylinder engine can have. But 1, 2, 4, 3 sounds right. But we'll look it up here in a second. I'm hoping that a lot of the hard work has been done for us, and we'll see. We're gonna have to get a battery. I don't know which tractor I've used the battery in last, our multi-purpose starting battery that we use in everything. I don't know about our wire. Well, they are metallic wires. I just hope they play ball. All right, so we're not worried about this now. But I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and pull all these, squirt some juice down in there just to help it decide it wants to live, you know. And then we're going to have to rewire our setup. Then we're going to have to, ooh, we might have a problem right out of the gate. Is that plug cracked? I think it is. We're gonna have to get new plugs, because that's cracked and that might mess with us. That's a 306 auto light. So I'll stop in town after a while and hopefully grab some of them. But maybe we can get it to, I don't know if we'll get it running before I leave or not, but for now we're putting this back in like we're using that one. So I'm going to quickly on my phone here order those plugs. Okay, next, what were we doing? ADD set in. We were taking plugs out one at a time to squirt some magical juice down in there, just to help it to decide to live. And then when we get our new plugs, we'll swap them out, because that one's cracked. So if one's cracked, it's getting them all. There's a dead bee in this hole, so that's nice. I don't understand why some manufacturers felt the need to put these plugs in the recessed hole so dramatically. That's a pretty deep pocket for that to be, and it's kind of frustrating to get those off of there. Come on. That one's kind of rusty, but that plug is good. It's not all. The front two are both cracked. I didn't say that a minute ago, but that one's got a place in it too that I think is a crack. So you can't have that. If your plug's got a crack, you break your mother's back or something like that. I don't know what that expression is, you know. I hope that was part of a tree that just fell on me and not part of a bird's yesterday's lunch. One more. I don't like the cobwebs are interesting. I'm gonna go behind. Can I go behind the oil filter, or does that make it worse? This plug wire is very short for what it should be. I don't know. I would have probably done it different, but whatever. I guess they did it because the governor rod actually comes, or your throttle rod is right here. Like I said, they were 30s era tractors are crude. They just don't, I mean, they didn't put a lot of worry into things. They just, you need something connected from here to here, hook up a rod and don't worry about what's close to it. It'll be fine. I think I might try his light switch, you know? That's just a nice story, you know? I don't know. All right. We don't need an extra splice though. That's my beef with that. We're gonna rewire the house wire if we do this. We can use his on-off switch, but we're gonna do it different. The next question is gonna be, does Ross have any gasoline here? Or did he pour it all in stuff? I'm afraid he poured it all in stuff, and we're gonna be hosed until I get some. So I won't be able to film the rest of this video until some other time. All right, so we're going to change his wiring here. We're gonna go from 140 to 220 or whatever. Now I'm gonna cut an end off of the one that's gonna go to the battery and redo it so that it's shiny. And that one's gonna go away because we don't need all those extra pieces. Get rid of that short piece of wire. We don't need that. I'm starting to wonder whether, I bet the guy before me didn't do this. I bet somebody did this years ago and it worked, and so they went with it. But I have to change it a little because the wiring's too crappy to go. But I'm just gonna jumper this up into our switch. We don't need an extra piece. We'll connect that there. We'll redo the end on that, and then we will, all we need is a, well, they do have a ground twisted on the tractor. We'll make her go. I need a new piece of wire for here, and I need a new piece of wire for here to make it do the things. All right. Well, let's strip off some more of this. Or not. Or not. Let's install our new light switch. Boy, this sucks to be where I'm working. I mean, I'm on an angle, and it's really getting inconvenient. Also, I just dropped a screw, which inevitably I'll spend a half an hour looking for, but that's okay. Let's put that there. Come on. These aren't exactly made for multi-strand wire, but that's fine. Alright, we're going to take this and this. Well, they both reach over to that homemade battery box. Alright, that end's done. Now we need to worry about this and this to make her go. Did I get a long enough piece of wire? Yes, I did. So we can just simply do that on it. And we'll get this other end wired up. So I need a couple connectors. We need a spark plug wire that's actually metallic and not this garbage, because those things don't ever last. I should have plenty of spark plug wire material. We can reuse this boot. We can reuse this piece. So I'll go get a wire. All right, friends, we got more stuff. This is so strange. I mean, this is a cobble of sadness, but we're gonna make it work, because I think it will. And then we don't have to wait on expensive distributor or Magneto pieces. We can get those later and make it super nice. But I think it's gonna go. I think this was a repair done years ago. Hence the homemade wooden battery box, you know. That's just, how do we want to wire this up? Well, I'll just let it rub the frame. That's good for electrical. Let's see, we want that one on this. We want to drop everything 15 times. That way it'll be sure to work. All right. Well, we got that part. Now we need to do spark plug wire. And we're going to recycle the end, hopefully. I never know what you can see and can't see. Or what you what you can see or not see. You can't say that on here. Oh, that's frowned upon. Oh. We scraped down and hit some of the original layers of paint there. I need the boot too. I don't know why he would have went with, he had nice metallic wires, but then he went with a fiber coil wire. I don't get that. Making spark plug wires. Should have brought my other pliers. I use it as the crimper on it. Maybe that'll go. We hope that coil is good. Alright, we need that one in there. There we go. Alright, ignition system. I think we're good there. Now we got to tackle fuel system. And I think we're just going to go for it, friends. I think I'm not sure that we're going to get any fuel out of our tank. We can try it, but it looks like it leaks pretty aggressively. And I'm just afraid that, you know, stuff and things aren't going to happen. Let's see if we can get this loose, because it's going to need cleaned out. Come on, red pliers, don't let me down. Come on. Oh, that's cruddy, nasty garbage. I just bet that that's not gonna work. I gotta see if I got any gas anyway. I have my little lawnmower tank I use to run stuff on. We can, if we have to use that, we can. I might as well delete this tube right now because we're gonna need space. We also need to see if this choke will turn. This choke pivot. Yeah. We're gonna need probably full choke, I assume. Alright, a quick trip to town for more happiness in a can and some gasoline. We're ready to maybe see how this fuel system is, because I suspect it ain't no good. I also suspect somewhere along the line those two things got swapped. That's okay. So I suppose there ain't nothing more to do than just pour some in and see what happens. Is it going to run out of the bottom as fast as it goes in? You'll be the first to know. Can I even hit the gas tank? Not really very good. I'm losing more out every other direction than I am going in the tank. Well, that was a mess. We'll never know if it's leaking now. My gas can spout started leaking. What's going on here? Did it not get threaded on square? Well, maybe that's better. There's some in there. Let's see if it... Wah, wah. Nothing's coming out. I maybe didn't get enough in. I would say it's glued shut. What you're going to want to do is just keep putting more in, and then you're immediately going to take it all apart. Well, I can't imagine that this very rickety homemade setup didn't work for us. So now the question is, where is it plugged up at? Is it plugged up at up here? Is it plugged out in here? Is the line plugged up? What will it take, friends? What will it take? Well, it's kind of dripping up here. So my next thing's gonna be, what if I try to get some brake clean in there? It's dripping, but but that ain't gonna win the turkey. It's running out some nasty, cruddy looking stuff. I think what I'll do first is take this loose, and then I will see what happens. Well, let's just not talk about it. Let's just do it. Will that even... Oh no! Oh no, this tank is very bad. It's gonna start gushing here after a while because the whole mounting thing is messed up. Oh, that sucks. Well, fuel tank is gonna be in our future. Let's see what happens here. Not very good, or is it? Still not very good, or is it? We need to get us a piece of some more solider stuff here and jam her up in there, because that kind of flow ain't gonna do it for us. You gotta have a good flow. I know it gets worse as you get older, but that's ridiculous. Here's a piece of wire tied to the tractor. Maybe we can repurpose it into a fuel unstoppulation device. I really wanted to hear this run before I left, but I'm not gonna make it. I bet that style valve won't let me go all the way through because it's like a gate and it's offset. Finky foo. Let's see here. What are my choices? Because everything is so rickety. Choice A would be just to bypass the tank and not worry about it. What's going to happen is I'm going to end up pulling the bottom out of the tank because it's so bad. I mean, it is bad. Well, now there's nothing in there, and I still ain't got no flow. Oh, okay, I get it. There's the stoppage. There we go. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. I bet the bottom of that tank's nice because it turned that gas that was brand new into a very unique color. But like I said, we're gonna roll with it. Obviously the guy before me was running it on this setup, so why not we do it too? Alright. Now, if we turn this on, will it run out here? Probably needs to flow a little bit and get that garbage worked out of there. Because that is a very dark, a rich dark color. It smells. It doesn't smell like gas, but it smells. Alright, well, that's going to leak the whole time now, but that's fine. Why are we surprised? I'm not surprised. Are you surprised? Red pliers, are you surprised? If we do it right, we'll break the glass. Alright, mystery fluid is flowing to the carburetor. So that's something. We also got the magician's helper here. So we got that. Now we need to get a battery, because our new ignition setup runs on a battery, even though it's a Magneto. So I'll run down and get the magical start battery, and I'll get a test light to make sure that our magical start battery is actually doing something. All right, a quick check, and our electrical system is in fact working. I don't know what our throttle situation will be. I know our carburetor's overflowing. That's probably not good for it. However, that might let it start easy. I don't know. Let's be sure to turn on our electrical system. We'll give this a try. I'll keep you up here where you can see me get hit in the teeth with it. Oh, that's gonna fight us now. Whatever's supposed to be in there isn't. Oh, it's gonna be flooded if anything. Let's try her again. I'm afraid we're gonna need more work. I don't trust our electrical system, that it's actually working. I shut it off. Sadly enough, I'm out of time again. So we're gonna have to table this. So I'll have to bring you back later. All right, friends, whilst I was gone driving, I managed to pass a brainstone, and I had a thought. I need to check, because I might have screwed it up too, and the guy before me maybe didn't have it quite right. Since this is a Magneto, and it is not like a distributor where your rotor is on the shaft that the points are on, it is possible that the rotor is not timed to the points, and so when the points tell it to fire, the rotor might be in between plugs or not even close, and you can't just turn it like you can a distributor, because that's not the way it is. So we need to start over, take this all apart, and make sure that what is really happening is happening. I'm going to firstly assume, we'll not worry about whether it's timed to the tractor. We're going to worry about whether this is timed to this inside itself. And then we will worry about whether this unit is timed to the tractor. And I know how to do that. I read up on it now. So I've only worked on one other gear drive Magneto, and I want to say it was on an OC3 crawler. But it's a different animal when they're gear drive versus when your rotor is on the shaft of the thing. So back apart it comes, and we can even, well, we don't need to, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. I kind of felt like maybe I should put it on top dead center, but we don't need to do this operation. It'll be interesting to see where it ends up, you know, if we had it right or not. But looking at the instructions, I think we're missing something important for this part of the operation, so we're going to have to try something different. Okay, let's turn it a little bit to get it to where I think where I had it, and where we'll see if it was even close to right. Let me turn it so the rotor is up. Not quite. Okay. Now, there is supposed to be a mark on this fiber gear of the cap, but we don't know. I don't think I had that plate that had the markings, but we can still do it. And what has to happen is the rotor has to be in this position right here, just before there is a lug made into the plastic, and then the rotor needs to be at the leading edge of that. So I don't know if that makes sense. It will make sense, I hope. By the time we're done, you'll understand what is happening. But we have to take off the back part of the cap now and see if we're even close, because I don't know. This is such a setup. I'm tempted to just not even, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like just buy a whole bunch of new parts and rebuild this first before even trying this, because I don't know that we're going to get it with this rickety setup. We should, in theory, be able to, but I'm just worried that it's not going to work. It's just one of those things, friends, that just doesn't do it for me. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the tooth on the gear down is in the right spot, because the rotor on this is exactly where it should be. Coming off of there. Okay, well, sadly enough, I do not see the mark on this gear. There is supposed to be, much like that injection pump, a sawed-off tooth, I believe. This is supposed to have a metal plate with a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but it has a C and an A. There's a mark that looks like somebody made it. So, that's interesting. But I sure don't see okay, there's a red dot. So in that case, this was not timed anywhere correctly, if that red dot is in fact the thing. So since we can't do anything about it anyway, let's turn it way out of time now. Now, there comes the dot. And it may be that our tractor, the Magneto's not timed to the tractor right. How are we doing? That's pretty good. We're struggling up front here though. We got too many things cobbled at once, and it's starting to bite us. Can I reach in and turn the flywheel just a little? Yeah. All right, that appears to be, see how they have a red dot? We're going to assume that that is the correct mark. I mean, it's not just painted on, it's actually it actually feels like there's a hole in it. Then I would also like to know if I pull that, like if I crank, okay, like I'm cranking on it, the point should immediately open next, right? Yeah, see there they start to open. So that would correspond to the, what that's gonna do is then our rotor will point to the firing mark exactly when the point's open, and that's what we're gonna have to have. I'm gonna go back a minute and then come up on it again. So all the slop is out of it. Yeah, I could feel the mag hit the impulse there, like it's about to spring past. So that's good. That's what we wanted. and the points are closed again. They'll open in just a second. And since we don't have the C mark, now we have to time it with, just proud of that mounting lug. See, that's too much. So we want right there. I think that was very valuable, and that will save us a lot of time of cranking our guts out. And in a minute, we will try to find the flywheel firing mark, and we will move it to where that timing pointer is exactly on the lug. And when that happens, the fire mark on the flywheel should be centered in the inspection hole. And I don't know if that's through that cover or if it's underneath here somewhere. I don't know. We'll find out. All right, I'm very happy. I think that that is now in time with itself. However, we still don't know if it's in time with the tractor, but we will shortly find out. There's just so many unknowns because we're using the last guy's setup. We don't know if the coil really is good, even though it looks like it's been, you know, it's not that old in the grand scheme of things, but it is rusty, so it might be pretty old, but I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns that we're hoping are going our way. But what I was getting at with this, what made me think of this is, I took this apart, and there's a potential that somebody else in the meantime took it apart and was hoping that they had it right and they just slapped her back together, you know. Like maybe for the auction they wanted to see if they could get to the points, and they took the wrong thing loose and then, or took it loose and didn't get, you know what I'm saying. All right. So now that is potentially okay. Let's see if we can quickly find inspection port beneath the tractor. Okay, let's see if there's I was thinking that these had a hole, like no, that's not what I was expecting to see. I thought there was a hole like right here. I guess I'm thinking of like a 200. I wonder if that's the thing we need to take that loose to see. That would really kind of suck to take all that loose, but and then again we could just try it again to see if it would run. That, you know, likely as not somebody didn't pull this off the tractor, they pulled this off. So a lot of people are afraid of magnetos, and so, you know, there's a lot of people who won't dive into that, so that might be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and try it like this and see if anything happens. I don't know. One thing that's fighting me too, I need to get a better pin. It keeps falling out of this, and then yeah, it's a struggle. I'll just put you there for the sadness. You can't really see, but there's nothing I can really do. Turn the lights on. See what we get. All right, well, we didn't get nothing. That's okay though. That's okay. I think what I want to do now is pull a plug and see if it even fires, you know, if it's firing the plug at all. Because it may be that the points are still crap. I got the lights turned off, so we should be fine. The other problem is, doing this by myself is almost impossible, because I need somebody to crank while I watch things over here, you know. I don't have that luxury. It smells like some of the crappy gas got up there. Where can I wedge that I could see it? To see it and I don't think that's gonna make connection, but you never know. There, it fired. Okay, what can I do? I don't think we're right. No, we're not. Okay, we're not right. Our timing's not right because it just went to top dead center and then it fires later. So let's look at the this. It said if the rotor's pointing down, you're 180 degrees out. And I bet that's what's going on. But it is firing. That's good news. That's part of the struggle, friends. Yeah, the rotor is pointing down. I think we can still lick this though, the old way. Let me get it where I think it's about to fire, or where it's coming up on. Right about there. Okay, I can do this, I think. That'd be 1, 2, 4, 3. So I got that's coming up on compression. So I need to time it differently, I think. We can always go back to the other way, but I think I can make it go if I just change the order of the plug wires. Because it's coming up on number 3 instead of number 1 with the rotor. And then that's not a compression, see? So for whatever reason, something's out of whack. And I don't know if this is actually a gear in here or if this is a coupler. Because if it's a coupler, then you only have 2 choices, in which case I probably would have to take it loose here, and there's probably a gear in there, which would make it go, or I could just move the plug wires over one hole, and then it should be close to what we need. Because that's about the only way when you're dealing with, you know, old stuff like this. Something has gotten messed with, and we'll just remember what we did. If we screw it up, we'll put it back. We'll put it back the other way. But since this is not a distributor, it's a Magneto, I believe that impulse still affects us. And so it's just one of those things, friends. We're gonna go here. 1, 2, 4, 3. All right, friends, with any luck, it's gonna fire to life now. All right, friends, the GoPro's dead, and you probably won't believe me, but I did get it to take off and run for just a second. It fired about, I don't know, 12 times or so in a row, ran. Obviously, it was like having it at an idle, and I don't think that's where I had the throttle set. Looking at this and the way this feels, I think there might be some governor linkage problems that we will need to address. But the thing is, I just ain't got it in me to sit here and crank it all day long if it don't run. So what I'll do is, in the next one, Dad will be here and he will pull me around and we'll get it to run. And I think before that, I might just go ahead and take that carburetor apart, because I'm sure that if the fuel system looks like that stuff, that the inside of the carburetor probably is the same way. And we need to get that lined up first, because if we don't, we're just going to be fighting ourselves. But I am encouraged now that I have it. It is correctly in time and it will run. I know it will. It just is a matter of making it a little more better so that it keeps running. But what I had to do here is move every wire one hole after we timed this, because it's not, apparently it's not put on the tractor here in the right orientation, because I was pretty sure that that was a slot behind here, but I don't know. But at any rate, I got it right now, because it did take off. When I cranked it finally, I had to make me a new pin. In other words, grind down a bolt and hammer it home. But if it'll do that, I know it'll run. I just have to, you know, if you got somebody pulling you, then you can mess with it for longer and try to keep it running and things, you know, that you can't do when you're, it actually would be nice to have two more people. Then I could be on the ground, one person could be on this, and the other person could be pulling, but that's probably not going to happen. So me with a can of brake clean shooting it up towards the carburetor is probably what's going to take place when I get a helper to help pull. But everything works. I mean, we got this whole system, believe it or not, it's going to go. It's going to run like that. So that's encouraging. And now we can leave this one in somewhat a note of success, but you got to take my word for it. You never heard it, but trust me, it happened. I believe it. I did it several times and I got it to pop, and it would sit there and run for just a second like it was at an idle and then die. So I would say carburetor issues, we'll straighten that out next. And then who knows, maybe after that I'll try it and it'll fire right off. I don't know. But we're going to read up on, see if I can't find a book for this or something, and see how they want that governor adjusted, because it doesn't seem like it does anything for a long time, and then all at once you can feel it springing against you. So we just have to figure that out. And I don't know. I assume that shoving forward is high idle and then backwards is low idle, but I don't know. That's all things we need to know, things that I don't know. So that's what we're going to do. And when we finally get around to making this run good and using it, we're probably going to have to take a file and cut some deeper grooves or something, and then regrind this so that it actually catches in there, because it's, yeah, pretty well wore out in this range here. If you pull it back here, you can get it to hang, but yeah. Anyway, now this is where we'll leave this one. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. After watching what you just saw, do you feel like your IQ has dropped lower than your credit score? Well, there's no reason that both of us should be miserable, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up and leave a comment. That stuff costs you nothing, and it really helps me out. Your banker may not approve, but I know mine will. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.